Batman and Robin. Number 8, Cult of Batman Part 2, Eric. Joshua Williamson writing. Nicola Seasonazia on art with Rex Locus and Steve Wands. The big play here is Shush and the one part teaming up with Batman. And then you also have Flatline, which everybody seemed pumped up that she was coming into town with a few days to thrill, hang out with Damien. Then all of a sudden you get her sister. I think that was a misplay. I think that there's no real reason for that. And all around,
the whole reason that Mila isn't here is because we need Flatline to have a reason to come to Gotham. Whether it's a bullshit reason or not, it is the reason that Flatline is not only here, but she's going to stay for a while.
Even then, she's just going to stay for a while because she's going to stay for a while. But it's weird because you almost feel like, I know this is kind of funny to say, but a manufactured story just to get her there and then have this issue where they do a bunch of things, which by the end you realize, oh, Mila, she's going away. We didn't really need her. That was just a device. And now Flatline's just going to, hey, I'm going to go to school with you.
And you also learned that Mila has powers just like Flatline, that they inherited from their not serial killer grandpa, but a grandpa who worked for an organization who ended up killing people for them. And the thing is, the idea of
these are added things that don't do anything for me. It really doesn't do it. Serial killer assassin. All right.
Oh, that's the thing is I started thinking to myself, aren't assassins just higher paid serial killers?
Yeah, well, I think that what happened is he's like, oh, you know what? Grandfather's serial killer. I don't want people to think they're crazy. Or it's so we'll make him an assassin. I'm like, that's kind of still bad. And just so she has this gang, everything felt forced with the thing. And to me, Flatline could have just come into town just to check up on Damon. And maybe you think she has an ulterior motive, something like that. Or maybe she needs help with her powers and with Lord Deathman, and she had to talk to Batman. You can make up something. This seemed like a bunch of stuff that didn't need to happen.
This might be something that, Joshua Williamson or somebody is working on later on, a DEO story where Mila will come back. Or maybe a opposition to a Suicide Squad where the DEO has formed a team and Mila having Flatline powers is going to be a part of it.
I'm telling you say that is such a, one of them, the idea that anything like that could or would happen with a character that's not even the main character, it's a sister, in a book that's a side Batman and Robin book that then ends up being something where we don't even have a Suicide book proper. I don't get it.
No, I'm not saying a Suicide Squad. I'm saying something along the lines of something that could go against it. Something along those lines.
Unless it's something that will be within Batman or something that will be in a big book, I don't see them making a new book just for, DEO Flatline sister.
It could be something involved in absolute power because even though we don't have a Suicide Squad proper right now, Amanda Waller seems to be in charge of everything with the Sovereign Bureau, with
she
the
may
Bureau
show
of
up,
Sovereignty.
but I don't think it's
and
anything
the DEO
important.
would work for the government and stuff like that. So you might have teams here who are all a part of what Amanda Waller is doing in absolute power.
Maybe, but even then, you could have just. I don't think that. And again, it's not a Joshua Williamson story, so who knows? Maybe it is a setup for Mark Waid to do something with, but it just seems such a side thing. And again, this is where. You have Flatline come in. She's looking for her sister. Suddenly, her sister reveals, oh, my God, I have powers, too, because I was jealous of you after Grandpa died. But then I found out that he wasn't a serial killer. He was actually a hired assassin. He had a crew that I then went and got. And then we came into Gotham because we know there's all these tech and crazy weapons so we can sell in Corto Maltese. This is a wacky story to get to where I just want Flatline to hang. I wanted this.
No. It's a very wacky story, especially for the idea that Flatline came in and did not tell Robin during their idea that we got to go find my sister who has powers just like me. I don't know who she's killed to gain expertise from, like Flatline has done, working under Lord Deathman and such. But she is the leader of this crew that used to be a part with her grandfather, and they're trying to run weapons and guns to different places that are left over from Gotham villains.
Kind of makes Batman look like a schmuck too. That he's just leaving shit laying around. Yeah.
But then the idea becomes oh no, I was me being Flatline was working for the DEO secretly to bring my sister in so we could also take down her crew.
Yeah, I did it. Of that convoluted story, I forgot to say that Flatline made a deal with the DEO, working undercover, not telling Robin, so we can take down my sister, but she gets leniency to them, work for the DEO while the crew gets taken away. I'm like,
Suicide Squad.
This poor crew, they really seem to be retired. And this girl comes in and says, let's do this. And we're kind of bored. Next thing, she gets the deal with the DEO. These schmucks, they just get sent up the river. Again, at the end, you get where I wanted to start it, where I thought that if you're going to have Flatline show up in this book, You're already doing school stuff. Because remember, also, when we're talking about this, we have Shush with Batman. We also have Manbat. We also ended up having the terrible trio and splicing of DNA. We had all this, like, everything gets pushed aside, then brought back, then pushed aside again, and then add things. This is what I'm talking about, and this is around the thing, and I was thinking, issue 8, after a first trade, shit goes wonky with Joshua Williamson. A lot of times it happened with the Robin
I feel
book.
like the first trade was wonky.
Well, I'm saying, and that's the worst. Even like talk about Green Arrow right now. That book's very wonky, and it's like doesn't explain things and go, at least this is just for fun. I think he loses track of things. But all I needed was I can make up a million reasons why Flatline, like I said, wants to talk to, but finds out that, you know, Damien's having problems and wants to help him, whatever. I need it where Damien just goes into class, sits down, like, oh, by the way, we have a new student with us. And then you see, oh, shit, it's Flatline. Instead of all this, like even her crisscross applesauce to get to that, it just seemed weird. It did, and like you said, if it is to set up something, that would make more sense because, boy, it feels forced and unnecessary to get these two back together. But it is something, and I think you have to have something going on. While you have Batman continues, the world's greatest detective. All he can ask, this could be a thing where
What's your connection to Tommy Elliott? I told you a million times now, I am not connected to Tommy Elliott. Liar.
Yeah, like,
God damn it, Batman. I am so afraid. You and I talked about it the other night, where if it does turn out for the amount of times that Joshua Williams has had Batman bring this up, if Tommy Elliott becomes involved, I'm going to be so mad.
Well, and that'll be the idea where you have Joshua Williamson try to prove, like, see, that's why Batman's the world's greatest. Yep. He has one thing that he's stuck on, and he keeps saying it. Also, you do have, like, even with this stuff happening in Gotham with, you know, Flatline's sister Mila, all this, and grabbing the guns, that makes Batman, like, some writers do these things that feel weird. Batman basically arrests. Also, I love the idea that Mila's like, listen, in Gotham, Batman arrests these guys, right? And then he just throws shit in a warehouse. And so I get it and I sell it. I want to see where there's a gang going around Corto Maltese with squirting fucking flowers. Like, I'm thinking of the people she says, like the Riddler, or, you know, they run around with canes and shit. Like, not all of them have superpowers. Honestly, stupid nonsense.
If I'm a Karaki insurgent, I wouldn't mind having these. So, like, if you're going to put a flower that spits acid on my chest, sure,
This is the thing. I get the idea that at this point, what they're saying is you go to Corto Maltese, it's the funniest place to see crime take place. Like, people are running. There's one gang, they're dancing with the squirting flowers. And
you say this, it's essentially the same thing we had in New 52 with the Green Team. A bunch of rich kids who buy all the extra stuff, you know, like a Batmobile.
And we've had this a lot. We even had a thing in the Nightwing story where they were selling memorabilia and things like that. So you do have this. But when you say that it's Batman who just leaves them in crates in a warehouse and doesn't keep track, but when she says, oh, all these cool toys, between Joker, Freeze, Penguin, Riddler, I'm like, I get the Freeze gun. Like, that's pretty cool.
Honestly, give me an umbrella weapon, too. I don't care if it's a sword, a gun. Give me something umbrella weapon.
That. I need to see the full-out gang dancing around, because you know they're dancing with these umbrellas. It's all Batman 66 shit going on.
Singing in the rain?
Oh, yeah. They're singing in the rain, and then it's like the, ultraviolet. This Corto Maltese has turned into Batman 66. They're just nonsense happening down there. I need them to go. But when they're doing this and you have Shush, this is where Batman, again, it's weird because this is a side book. You have all that stuff in the, Chip Zdarsky and then the Ram V stuff in Detective where Batman's having all the problems. This is the book that we've actually had Batman, kind of watching soccer games. You kind of feel good for him, whatever. But you see here that you can't really tell a story with a real competent Batman in my mind because Shush says, we're going to team up, right? Hey, I want to team up. Yeah. He says, fine. I can play your game, Shush. Let's start with this. What is your interest in my son? She says, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Like, she actually tells Batman, who seems to say to me, this isn't happening unless you tell me this. And she goes, yeah, that in time. But let's go here. And I'm like,
well, even the idea that he knows the connection possibly with Mistress Harsh, Damien's old teacher in the League of Assassins, like, maybe bring that up or like do something with that because it feels like we've been sitting on that information for a long time. And it seems like Damien was sitting on that information even longer, keeping it to himself.
And yeah, because they seem to think more, but then there's weird things by the end.
You had the teacher, like I can't think of her name off the top, but you had Principal Stone as well. Principal Stone seemed to be all about Damien. He believes that that's Mistress Harsh as well, or possibly Shush. And he's all about like her and the soccer team, this Principal Stone. When the teacher, by the end, I'm like, that's Shush. The teacher who like wants to speak to Damien, that is Shush the entire time. because she has dark hair just like Shush.
She does. Then when I start thinking of the full effect of this, and I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, if it's the teacher, but there's one weird thing about it. But the teacher's like, okay, I got to get home real quick because I got to wrap myself up like a mummy. Like the idea that this is the costume where she's wrapping shit around like she has to run home to do it is kind of funny. But there's nice bits with Flatline and Damien. Damien gets to use his Robin-mobile.
That Mistress Shush is Principal Stone, but the other teacher of Damien's is Shush.
Here's the thing, though, because this whole is we're going to take down Manbat. Crazed out, I don't even know what this Manbat is. I mean, seriously.
And
he's
before
so
we had
crazy.
him, was he like grayish albino looking?
No,
because I didn't remember him looking like he did in this issue.
Because we're jumping back between different art, and everybody's doing it different. And this is like, I mean, this is like goth version of like emo vampire nonsense to me. It's like really odd.
Version of emo vampire
it's
nonsense.
Weird. It's just weird. It doesn't like. Usually, what happens in these stories is you do end up having Batman's like, Kirk, I know you're in there. He sees this shit and he's like, fuck that. Like, I don't think anybody's in there. This goth emo vampire shit.
The ultimate version of Manbat ever since he came back to life. There's no Kurt Langstrom left.
No, yeah. And so when you have this, he's poisoning people. We saw that the one guy died, so Batman has
Which
to
is
stop
weird
him.
because he's poisoning people, but with the promise that the DNA splicing they did before would turn him into a Man-Bat as well.
Yeah, and we thought that it would have been like maybe it's Man-Bat serum and not everybody can take that. But it wasn't. It seemed like he was just like, hey, you're my follower. This will be cool. Take this. It's fentanyl. I don't know why they're doing that.
I'm telling you, I need there to be a reasonable explanation for what's going on, because before, the idea that he kidnaps a DNA scientist, he has all these human-animal hybrid people like Orca, Killer Croc, and the Terrible Trio, who are now animal-human hybrids for real this time. You had all this going on. They're like, okay, we're going to turn everybody into the next evolution, almost like Lizard style from Amazing Spider-Man. But like the idea that we're going to be doing this for real this time, they're like, Man-Bat without Kurt Langstrom, he's getting shit done. But for some reason, and on the sly somehow in the background, also has a cult of Man-Bat that seems like it showed up out of nowhere, who are given these pills, and they're like, in case of emergency, take this, you become the ultimate formula. And like, why did we go through all of these steps with the DNA splicing to then just be
That's
murder?
what I'm saying. This is where I think things get pushed aside, things get wonky. At one point, you even have this cult of the Bat, and I actually thought it was like Jason Todd at one point when he's up on the building. He's like, hey, they're coming your way. I'm like, what? Oh, that must be a Met, because we didn't really see much of them, but then we have that cult. Then you have Shush, who says, hey, we're going to go and take down Manbat. I'm going to show you where it is. I want revenge because he kind of screwed me too. He promised and killing people. So they go down, but everything's cleared up. And Batman's like, man, looks like he cleared out. Also says, I think this is a trap like 8 times. Then he looks at this
was a trap.
Then he looks at this map, and I think it's like Joshua Williamson needs Batman to have a little bit of detective work. But he sees this map, and it is mapped out with a bunch of things, and he goes, I don't know what this is. He's like, I think they might not like the idea. This must be the route that they do the poisons, but I don't understand what he's doing. I'm like,
that's all right. I looked at that map and I said, this isn't real, because a section of Gotham, which I've never seen before, Otisburg, a callback to Superman 78.
Just being idiots. And like, Manbat is trying to find a way to distribute his drug across Gotham. Now, is this the DNA splicing Manbat drug? Or are we just talking straight up murder drug? But then he says, no matter, I need to stop this before the experiments take more lives. Whereas, see, I really think that the story was supposed to be that this drug was, if you're strong enough, you'll become Manbat and evolve with me. If not, I have no use for you and you'll die. But it didn't feel like that.
Maybe we just took the scientists away too soon and they weren't able to complete the serum. But like, Manbat's like, go for human testing.
And you realize that, like, one of the steps, arsenic, then turns into Manbat drug. But they stopped at that step because it should have been like the guy ends up taking the drug, starts to deform, scream, and then dies of monstrosity. And then says, Batman, kill me. Like something like that. But it wasn't. It looked like straight up poison.
Oh, you little abomination.
So is it that much? Like, this seems like the idea of, I'm going to poison the water supply, but with more steps. Like he's trying to pretend it's something else. But it's weird when Batman sees this and says, I need to know how he's going to distribute it. But maybe with drug dealers? Like, why do you you have to stop him? That's what you need to do. And he just seems behind the 8 ball. He's
even
really,
at the point when Batman is trying to get all the stuff, and it is a trap that Shush leads him into, unbeknownst to her, obviously, but they knew that, like, Shush was betraying Manbat. You have the cult of Manbat all there that he has to take on, and then Manbat himself shows up, and it seems like he just has Orgum shit on the mind because he doesn't want to just kill Batman. He needs to kill the symbol, the image of Batman. I'm like, Oh, shit.
I actually, after I read this, I was kind of in my mind thinking of a skit where it would it be like me and you were the villains and you're like the, Penguin or whatever, whoever it would be. We're just generic Jim and Eric, but you're like, no, we had
Rob
that.
and Don.
And I'm just like, no, let's just shoot him. Let's kill him. No, that's the symbol. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Let's deal with that later. But yeah, he is talking Orgum shit as they go. He tells Shush to get away, but as Shush gets away, she gets slashed.
Oh, yeah, hard bad. Really
That's
bad.
where I think the tell is, because that teacher comes running full sprint. I don't think she looks hurt. And
no.
The principal doesn't either.
Out, she looks disheveled. She's sweating, obviously, because she's been running for Damon. But if you see the end where, they're going in, it looks like she's kind of clutching her sides when Flatline and Damien are walking in.
I think she actually just has, her hands like fists. She actually looks like she has weird hands. And I don't even see her. She is sweating a bit, but that's the other thing. I hate to say it, I think they're playing the idea that she's a big lady. And maybe that's a play. Maybe she has some padding or something on to make her not look like, because, Shush is pretty thin. And then you get to her, and I don't know how they're playing.
She's wearing a gigantic cat sweater. You can't tell what her figure looks like.
That's what I'm saying. I think that they're playing her as like a dumpy thing like that because she's hiding that she's not.
Thing like that.
Well, I mean, her body type doesn't fit Shush. The only thing we're going with is hair color, but at one point she's full out sprinting to get to him, and it looked like her insides were ripped out. So I don't get that. Then you have the play where Damien's talking to himself. I thought he was talking to Flatline, but he's there talking to man, I got to figure this out. That Principal Stone, man, I got to get close to her. I'm like, you're on the soccer team, I thought. She's hanging with the soccer team. She's there with him, and he's not, as if we went back to him not being on it again. Because then that same girl who told him to join the soccer team says, oh, you're talking to yourself. You want to get close to Principal Stone? You got to get detention. No, you were on the soccer team. Did you quit? Because it seemed fine. Plus, they were down a goalie. Just become a goalie. I don't get what they're doing. That seemed like a weird play of there's the soccer team separate that he can't get him. It seemed weird. And then, you have the teacher come out all disheveled, like you said.
That's the thing, though, Jim. He might be a part of the soccer team, but she has an entire team to deal with. And the girl says, right, sure, listen, if you want to really get her attention, you just need to get into detention.
Again, he's not in the soccer outfit. He seems like he wants to go I can't get over there, and I'm gonna tell her. And he even says, I'm going to confront her. And I know it's her. Hey, get detention. Well, that'll be easy with Flatline coming up, and that's kind of a funny play. But I don't know. When you have somebody say that, I wish that Damien just, all of a sudden, he's like, the boys who were bad, like he's a bad, and then you find out he was a bad boy because he wanted the detention. If he does it now, we know what's going on.
Now, the thing about it is, too, it's weird, is you have this whole thing where when Flatline shows up to be a new student here at Gotham High, she still kind of looks like Flatline. She's all goth and white skinned about her, almost like a Harley Quinn. But she totally looks like she's like, oh my God, she's going to turn some heads with how goth she looks. But the idea that Miss Hall, his teacher, she comes up, oh, David, I really need to talk to you. Is this about my grades, Miss Hall? I was like, oh, what? Grades? No, you're essential. It's about, and then the other goes whoa, who is that? You see Flatline doing her whole, walking there. I said, to be inconspicuous. Because of how outrageous Flatline looks, just not being in a normal school uniform, I guess. Whatever dire situation Miss Hall needed to talk to Baby about completely slips her mind, and she does not pull him aside to talk about it.
I'm telling you, she makes an appearance. It's as you're saying, you have that girl and whoa, who's that? Oh my goodness!
I'm telling you, the guys who are out there at the parking lot are smoking cigarettes by their Trans Am. They're dipping their sunglasses down to get a better look.
This is where there's a couple of misplays here. I'm telling you, you have to have the boys who are bad, like you said. They're smoking there, and all of a sudden, the one hits the other's thing, and they look, and the sunglasses go down.
Little elbow to the rib.
Somebody's there looking. You see, you don't know who it is, but the hand comes and hits the chin up like that bullshit. I'll be great, and then all of a sudden, you see it's her, and then all of a sudden, it's just the end of Grease. And she's like, what's happening, stud? And then you start doing dancing.
You say that, I'm like, what, they get in a convertible and fly to heaven?
Yeah, they're dead. That's what's going to happen. But the other play I thought would have been you have this going on. You're like, oh my God, who's that? And we kind of know it's Flatline, right? So you're like, oh God. And then you see, and it's her version of what a normal student would be. She's trying to be proper to kind of blend in. But having her just straight up Flatline is pretty cool. But you could have
doesn't do inconspicuous.
You could have played this up so well, like you said. You could have had a whole bunch of panels where you don't know who it is, but you kind of do it. All the reactions from all the different people or whatnot. It'd be pretty cool. Pretty cool. What was? Oh, it was actually, I believe it was Weird Science, where they're going down the line and everybody's hitting each other in the stomach to look up, and they're looking up, and at the end it's a girl.
As Max and Ian are chasing after Kelly LeBrock.
Oh, it's so good. And then they're like slapping them down the line. It's like the best. That's what I need. But it is cool. Like, here's the thing at the end. This is what I wanted an issue and a half ago. When Flatline showed up, I wish it would have been just straight up. She's investigating something, but she originally just goes right to the school. Damien's all out of sorts and whatnot, and then they can end up saying, hey, I'll help you if you help me look into this, Shush stuff. In the meantime, he's like, where's Daddy?
Batman's missing.
Daddy's with Shush, though it's weird. And if Batman didn't, at one point grab, a hair for sample or something, it's a misplay. That guy has to grab some hairs there, because then you'll see who it is. But yeah, at the end, I swear, she's just she looks like she might be flashing gang signs. The teacher, right? Or something like that. Yeah, it doesn't look like to me she's grabbing her side. I think she has, if you go, it looks like she's got weird, claw fists that she has going on. That she's just there, weird. I'm telling you, it looks like when we talk about when we get a crazy deal.
Is Principal Stone, okay? Shush is Miss Hall. That's all I'm saying.
So what would be the deal and why? Because it would seem like either she was going to say, I have to tell you some, Principal Stone is, or I'm Shush. It doesn't seem like that.
Manbat has Batman.
Yeah, or that. And that's true. But yeah, at the end, it's just kind of weird.
Outrageous girl.
And how she gets there. And again, if it's Batman and she knows all those things, you shouldn't stop with holy crap, who's that?
And even the idea where, she believes that Manbat has betrayed her, and he's like, oh, I asked you for patience, and now you just get death instead. I have to imagine, since we've seen Miss Hall every time she has kitty cat sweaters that she wears, I think she wants to be a cat-human hybrid, and he hasn't given it to her yet.
Maybe. That would be crazy, but yeah, maybe. If we get back to that, I swear to God that half the DNA splicing shit and whatever I think is just left behind, but we'll see. We'll see what it is, but what would you give this?
I would give it, say, 6.3 out of 10. The art's not all there all the time. It's decent enough for what it is, but, it wasn't extraneous for all the Mila stuff with Flatline's sister to get us where we're going. Hopefully it is set up for everything, because if it's not, that was just way too long for this issue. I still hope it is. And it just seems like a weird place. We finally get to where the book feels like it should be for the last, 2 pages of this. And even the idea of Shush and Batman teaming up, it just still feels like half the ideas that we're dealing with Manbat feel out of nowhere and incomplete. It's still a fun issue, though.
Yeah, I'm a 6, and we had fun talking about it. But I thought, again, the art, when you had the fights and that, it got wonky. I couldn't, they're fighting, but I wasn't sitting there wowed at the choreography or, oh my God, they're at this set piece. It kind of got a little muddy.